Welcome to San Antonio's Influence Magazine show, the premier talk show where we introduce you to influential individuals doing significant work in the city of San Antonio and surrounding areas. Celebrate the spirit of business, leadership, and innovation. Today's guest is Nadege Souvenir, the new CEO at the San Antonio Area Foundation. Throughout her professional career, Nadege has outlined and executed strategies that have set her organizations up for sustainable growth and success. As a lawyer, she understands the delicate yet dynamic balance necessary to meet her organization's needs, stakeholders' concerns, and internal process efficiencies. She's originally from Minnesota, only 6 months here in San Antonio, holds a JD, MA, and a bachelor's degree. Please help me welcome Nadege to the show.
I am a kid of the Midwest, grew up in the Chicago area. Now, I don't want any Chicagoans coming after me, in a suburb of the Chicago area because, people care out there. Went to college in Ames, Iowa, and then followed my college sweetheart to Minnesota, where I lived most of my adult life before coming to San Antonio. And on top of being a Midwest kid, both of my parents are Haitian, so I'm a Haitian-American, and so that's part of my background too.
Okay, good. How about your educational background? Explain that, describe that for us.
Yeah. So, I, in undergrad, have a major in communication studies, and then I also have another degree that's actually called a Bachelor of Liberal Studies, and what that means is I got to make up my other degree, and at the time what I made up was basically a dance major before my college had a dance major. Mm-hmm. So I came out of undergrad with communication studies and dance major and thought maybe for a hot minute that I would go on to be a dancer, and then realized that lifestyle was maybe not the lifestyle I wanted. The paychecks that come with being a dancer was maybe not what I wanted. And so I decided to go into arts administration. So I've got my master's of arts administration, spent some time working in the field doing that, and then thought to myself, I gotta go back for more school, and got a JD. So I was an attorney, so I went back and went to law school and then practiced law for a number of years before transitioning to foundation space.
Outstanding. So you've got a master's and a JD.
I do. I'm a glutton for educational punishment.
Very special. And you can dance. So you got some skills there. Okay. We might hold you to that at an event coming up just to see if you still got it. I'm sure you do. So describe a day in the life of yourself.
The last 6 months have been filled with days of learning. I have been on the go, meeting people, having lunches, having events, just learning. And so I think that what my days look like right now, this is a temporary phase. At some point, I'm going to weave the working out back in. At some point, we're going to get more time for cooking at home, all of those things. But in this phase of life, we're in a high learning phase.
Okay. How long have you been with the foundation, and how did you get to the job, the opportunity?
Yeah, so, it's all tied up with my entry into Texas. So it's 6 months. I've been in this role, and this was an opportunity that came to me prior to being here in Texas. I was at the St. Paul and Minnesota Foundation. So it's the largest community foundation in the state of Minnesota, and I was the chief operating officer. So I have been involved with community foundations for about a decade. And when this opportunity popped up, it was interesting because, I really think community foundations have a special place in the community. The relationship with donors and helping steward legacies, working with nonprofits, grant making, capacity building, and also being a convener and connector on critical issues of the community. And so when I started exploring the Area Foundation, I realized, okay, I'd be coming to this place that's celebrating 60 years this year. So it's steeped in history, but there's just so much potential. And that part was really exciting, and attracted me here.
Okay, nice. And we applaud you for rising to the top as CEO. So what can we expect from you? Maybe share your vision or your plan for going forward and what we can look forward to.
Yeah. Well, whenever a new leader shows up at an organization, you have to expect that the first little bit is going to be some internal housekeeping, right? Like I have to get to know the organization, they have to get to know me. We need to sort of build those bonds of culture and connectivity. So, in addition to sort of being out and about and meeting folks and learning the community, there's been a lot of heads down time learning the team. I mean, there's some great folks here and sort of figuring out what our capacities are and where we've been and where we want to go. I think that one of the big priorities in the near term for the Area Foundation is really going to be about telling folks who we are. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to take a step back actually on that one. What I mean by that is sort of nationwide, community foundations are kind of misunderstood creatures in the communities that they're in. In fact, there's a nationwide campaign around this, Community Foundation Awareness Initiative, to help community foundations better articulate their value proposition in a community, what they can do for donors, for nonprofits, for the community, for all of those things. And I think that just coming off of the heels of celebrating 60 years, we are primed to really clarify and talk about who we are and sort of make that clear and easy for people to understand and be able to articulate back and be able to know how and when they should engage with us. So that's going to be really one of the big things that you'll be seeing that Area Foundation focus on.
So that's at the top of your list?
That's at the top of the list.
Okay. Any other kind of action plans or things you want to make sure that we can look forward to?
Yeah, we're going to continue to do good work in areas that we have long made investments in. So right now we have sort of 4 impact areas. We've got successful aging, youth success, livable and resilient communities, and cultural vibrancy. And all of those shape and sort of are part of what makes a robust community. But what I really love is where we have made some really deep investments are youth success and successful aging. And I love that because when you think about the whole of the community, oftentimes we sort of go to the average adult. Like that's the marker, that's the sort of proxy that we use for figuring things out. But the reality is we need the young folks to be successful, to get educated, to get jobs so that they can be drivers of a successful economy, to be, civically engaged and sort of in their work. And then at the other end, when you think about, successful aging, I hope you have, and I hope everyone watching this has the privilege to successfully age in place where they want to be, where they need to be, with accesses to the resources that we have. Like we're all going to get to, if, God willing, we're all going to get to that side of the spectrum. So I love that we have been making some deep investments on both sides of the spectrum, and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're here with Nadege Souvenir, new CEO, San Antonio Area Foundation. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
In the heartland of America, a remarkable woman was born into a large family, destined to share her wisdom with the world. Her name? Thelma J. Love. From her humble beginnings in a small town, Thelma's journey became a tapestry of love, loss, triumphs, and trials. Each thread, each chapter contributing to her perfectly imperfect masterpiece. Through heartbreak, loss, and the hardships of life, she faced her trials head on. And she emerged victorious, finding her true identity and power within her own perfect imperfection. Inspired by powerful stories of women like Michelle Obama, Maya Angelou, and Oprah Winfrey, Thelma now urges you to embrace your story, own it, and turn it into your strength, to become the author of your own destiny. Thelma's memoir is not just a book, it's a beacon, illuminating the path for others to walk in their authentic selves, for you to rise above your circumstances and choose to be a victor, not a victim. Thelma J. Love's A Perfectly Imperfect Masterpiece is available now on all major online retailers. Join her on this remarkable journey. And together, let's create a legacy of love, hope, and infinite possibilities. Your story is waiting. Are you ready to write it? A Perfectly Imperfect Masterpiece by Thelma J. Love. Available now.
when I first came to this office, this piece of art really drew my attention, and that's even before I knew what it was. And what I love about this piece is that it is participatory art making. I've talked about our youth success, and this piece of art is really created by and for and of community. A local artist working with youth in the community created kind of a monument that is a reflection of how they think monuments should be. We're looking at here, and actually continuing onto the walls, is that monument, is the participatory art piece that was created for this space. And so each youth participant was able to actually articulate what a monument is and means to them. And so as you look individually, you'll see notes like this one. This is a monument for my friends because friendship is the best medicine. And you'll see other ones where it's like, this is a monument to my mommy. This is a monument to our rivers and springs. So it's really the articulation of what a monument means to them and the ability to sort of articulate that and make it permanent here in our space.
We're here with Nadege Souvenir, CEO of the San Antonio Area Foundation. Describe for our audience exactly what the San Antonio Area Foundation does.
Absolutely. So the San Antonio Area Foundation is a community foundation, which is a nonprofit that was sort of set up for the long-term sort of benefits of a community. And it's set up to, at a high level, and I'll get more specific, donors can leave resources for the long-term benefit of the community, and it's our job as a community foundation to steward those. At a more specific practical level, because no one's worried about kind of that long-term benefit there, we work with donors on their philanthropy, donors who want to think about giving in the community, who want to have donor advised funds, who want to create field of interest funds because some particular thing is a passion for theirs and they want to leave resources to that. And so in a number of ways we work with donors kind of on their legacies today and potentially their legacies tomorrow because they care about San Antonio and they want to leave San Antonio better than they found it. We work with students. We have a robust scholarship program. I think we're one of the most robust scholarship programs in the region, and I hesitated because I'm new, not because it's not true. And so, students are engaged with our teams, getting scholarships that help them throughout their college experience, and also resources that help sort of surround those college scholarships. We work with the nonprofits, and I think this is probably where people know foundations generally pretty well. We do grant making. We do capacity building, helping nonprofits sort of grow, who they are. We have a pretty strong learning and development program where we have courses where folks can get certificates, can learn things like grant writing, finance, the sorts of skills and tools that you need to be a successful organizational leader in a nonprofit at a management level or even at the board. Yeah. And then the sort of last big thing that we do is, we are, I would say, a convener. By the nature of our organizational structure, we can hold funds, we can create collaboratives. So sometimes when there are big initiatives or crises in the community, we're one of the partners that calls folks together to, create a solution and sort of execute that solution.
Okay.
That help?
Helps us understand it a lot better. So I've heard in the past that most nonprofit leaders are called, right? They've got some passion they've had for all their life. Others may be trained. Mm-hmm. So what was your inspiration to get into nonprofits?
So that's really interesting because I've been in and out of the nonprofit space in my career. So before I went to law school, I was in the nonprofit arts sector. With my arts administration background, I thought, okay, this is where I want to be. I want to be at a nonprofit theater or a dance company running it to help, facilitate that art. Then I, found myself transitioning to the practice of law and had a good run there. And, being an attorney is great, and it's complicated and it's difficult and it can be challenging. I did complex commercial litigation, and so that's, high adversarial sort of nature. Yeah. And what I realized in the back part of my legal practice was going to trial didn't fulfill me. Like I would see my colleagues and they were happy to be, they were like, hey, it's trial, it's a big game, sports metaphors and all. And I thought, okay, there's got to be a different way that I can use the set of skills I have at this moment. Yeah. That isn't litigation. And so I started looking around And I looked at foundations in particular because what I loved about being a lawyer is a new client, new topic. I was learning all the time. And I thought, oh, a foundation might be a great place because they're going to be servicing different nonprofits. They've got to be sort of in the know on a lot of things. And I stumbled my way into the community foundation space. I used my legal skills to convince them to hire me, but I'll be honest, when I got there that first day, I was like, what is this place? And now that I know, it's going to be hard for me to leave this field because I love it so much.
Yeah. And the San Antonio Area Foundation is a phenomenal organization.
It is
great
indeed.
talent, good people. Given your background and your role now and influence, what do you plan to sort of help empower disenfranchised organizations or disenfranchised people? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I think that that's kind of what we have to do and what we're called to do. I mean, if your role as an organization, which any community foundation is to support the betterment and the sort of long-term health of a community, that has to include the whole of the community. Okay. And most ideally, it has to be intentionally looking at the individuals, the organizations, the parts of towns that have historically been sort of underfunded, under-resourced, underserved by no fault of their own. I mean, I just personally believe that, where you were born, who you are, what zip code you grew up to, that shouldn't be determinative of your opportunities for success. I mean, we should all get a shot to succeed and sometimes fail because there's learning in that on our own merits. And so I think that, as the Area Foundation, we are being really intentional in that, in how we think about our grant making, how we think about, capacity building for nonprofit organizations of all different sizes, and even how we think about our partnerships.
Okay, very good. Switching from professional to personal, because
Okay.
I'm believing you got some personal time and a personal
What are you
side.
talking? No.
You mentioned you got a husband. You get kids too, or?
I one adult daughter.
Okay,
Yep.
great, outstanding. So what do you do when or just maybe describe some extracurricular activities
Yeah.
you may have in your world?
Well, I've now made a couple of references to the art space. Okay. I am a huge performing arts fan. So,
Are you a performer too? You dance and
I mean, like not officially. Not you put on a good beat, you'll catch the shoulders moving a little bit. But
okay. at the stoplight in the car,
right? Yep.
We see you.
Exactly,
okay,
exactly. But I love theater. I love dance. Opera. I've actually long served on the board of, when I was back in Minnesota, the Minnesota Opera, and I was actually the first Black woman to chair that board, which is kind of a big deal, not just in Minnesota but nationwide. And so my husband and I regularly have sort of season subscriptions to like a number of places. So now we're finding our places in San Antonio. So, if you're at a theater somewhere, we'll probably be there if we haven't been there yet.
Okay.
On top of that, I mean, I like a good meal. So, checking out the restaurant scene in any place, like that's, when I travel, like that's the first thing we do. We're like, what restaurants are we going to?
Going to eat?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, starting to learn the restaurant scene here and sort of figuring out where we can go. And then let's see, what else? I like to shop, and not just sort of generically, but I like fashion. I've been involved back in the day with Fashion Week Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I love finding stuff from local vendors. These earrings were from from an artisan back in Minnesota, and so I love finding sort of quirky, off the beaten path sort of things to incorporate in my wardrobe because it keeps it interesting.
Yeah, keep you interesting too, right?
I try.
There you go. Very good. We're going to take another break. We're going to come right back with Nadege Souvenir, CEO of the San Antonio Area Foundation. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. So what are we looking at here?
So we are looking at a staff-created Day of the Dead altar, an ofrenda. And what I love and appreciate about this is it sort of shows how our staff is of community, which any good community foundation should be. The staff should be reflective. And so we've got, donors, we've got family and friends that are near and dear to staff, all folks that have a connection in some way with the Area Foundation.
Welcome back. We're here with Nadege Souvenir, CEO of the San Antonio Area Foundation. 3 final questions.
All right.
So, and this is a question I always like to ask our guests because it just helps other folks kind of really understand a little more about you. What's the one thing that people don't know about you but should?
Probably that I'm an introvert. I think when people meet me in large group settings, particularly when I'm talking about the work that I do and what I'm passionate about, I don't come off as an introvert. But like any true introvert, I derive my energy from some alone time and sort of getting to recharge and be back in the space. And so that's one of them. The other thing that the fun thing. I'll give you a fun thing. You only asked for one, but I'll give you a fun one.
Thing, yeah.
Give you a fun one. There is somewhere in the world a video of me as a dancing employee in a McDonald's commercial.
I thought I recognized you from somewhere. See, that's you. Are you serious?
I am absolutely serious.
Oh, we got to look that up, guys. We got that. Outstanding. Maybe you can send that to us. We can drop it into the segment here. Outstanding. Yeah. So you're that good that you were doing...
that was way back in the college days. It was many, many moons ago, but it was a fun day on the set, and dancing with the tray of fries, it was a whole situation.
That takes a lot of skill right there, I bet. Outstanding. So we have the privilege of interviewing a lot of leaders, and one of the things we've discovered about most leaders is they're all readers.
Yeah.
They all have a go-to book or something that they refer back to. Some only pick it up once a year or every couple of years, but it's their go-to book. What book is on your nightstand?
Well, I wouldn't call it a go-to book, but it's a new book that I'm reading. It's called Chain Gang All-Stars. And I always get tripped up on the name of that. And it's a fiction book, but it's a complicated book. It's about the prison industrial complex, so light reading. And there's some factual real-time stuff based, but it's the sportification of prison.
And the sportification of
it's like
prison.
they have turned it into sort of a head-to-head combat sport situation, and it's sort of really making comments on the system as it is now, and frankly as it could be if it ever got to such a ridiculous point. And I read it real fast all the way through. The way I tend to read is I'm an impatient person. I like to know the end as soon as possible. I tend to read a book real fast and then read it again. So I'm in the second reading now, where I'm reading it real slow to kind of unpack some of the learnings and some of the teachings, and just sort of like, how did somebody even conceive of this? But there are enough real facts cited in there that it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's good. So you're reading between the lines.
I'm trying to. And then, on a slightly lighter note, I'm reading How to Talk to People, because I'm in a phase of my new role here and being new to this community where I'm just in a lot of new and event modes. And sometimes it's nice to remind yourself, what are the tips and tricks to move about the space? Yeah,
outstanding. Well, we want to thank you for the time you spent with us on the show here today. And any parting words for our viewers that you can think of? Or
I would love viewers, those of you who have a relationship with the Area Foundation and those of you who want one, come find us. We've got our website. We're on, I think almost all forms of social media. But I think that, I would love folks to really understand that the Area Foundation can be a partner, if they're thinking about philanthropy, if they're in the nonprofit space, if they're in community building space, if they're, elected or leadership or in the corporate space. There's a lot of things that we can do, and we're here. We're ready to take that call, and we're ready to ask the question, what can we do to make San Antonio better?
Fantastic. So if anyone wants to follow your progress, they should go to the website.
Yes,
maybe.
That would be a great
What's
place
the
to find
URL?
us.
What's the
It is www.saafdn.org.
Okay. Very good. Nadege Souvenir, CEO of the San Antonio Area Foundation. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
If this is your first time joining us and you'd like more information, you could find us at influencesa.com. That's INFLUENCESA.com. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and for this particular episode of the show, all future and past episodes of the show, pull up your YouTube search bar, toss in San Antonio's Influence Magazine Show. That word is critical. Get that word in there. When you get there, please subscribe, give us a like or a thumbs up, and hit that bell so that you don't miss any future episodes of the show.